Hi, everybody. This video is to help explain a little bit more detail what I mean by making a small, several small compositions using magazine pictures. So let me show you what that means, and then how you might approach mixing your colors and painting these in based on the color swatches you used. So let me just take you down to my desktop here. So you can really use any kind of paper for your collage. Really, it's not that important here. And for magazines, I had trouble finding magazines too. But what you want to do is draw yourself some borders. I think I said 5 by 5 on these. It's probably something like that. It's a square. And so that you know that this is your picture plane. This is your, this is how you're going to just, keep your composition inside the borders. And then, what you might do is, of course, just look for swatches of colors in these magazines. And pull some out. What I think I want to say is that you want to look for areas that don't have a lot of texture, because we're just not interested in that. What we're interested in is flat areas of color, even though that has something in it. Maybe I can just cover that up. That's a lovely gray. There's a great piece of purple. So, you probably just want to start by gathering your colors, right? And I had said to limit the whole thing to no more than 5 different colors. That's more than enough. And to keep the shapes also pretty big, not to go too crazy with it, because you just, you want to make this not an onerous exercise. And the point is, to get started in, color mixing and get comfortable. Here's a lovely coral here. So you see, I really can find, even in the New Yorker, we can find swatches of color that we can use. Cut them out and tear them out. And here's another lovely color here. But the point here is that, we're finding colors that we have no idea how we don't know. They are most likely not, straight on primaries. They're going to be challenging for you, and that's the point. So that's pretty good. Let's see how we go here. So I had also said to cover up the white space, because we know how to make white, and I just want this whole experience to be about your trying to make these colors. So I'm just going to sort of start to place these here. I will take a scissors. I just want to show you right now, how you might be thinking about this. I mean, I'm not asking for you to spend a long time, making this, perfectly fabulous, little collage. I mean, it's, and I think you also want to keep it pretty abstract. So let's do that too, because otherwise we let the content kind of overwhelm us. And then, the point here again is to give us something so that we can start to mix colors. Actually, I kind of like the torn edges, but you might not. You might want to cut them. So anyway, I'm going to turn this off. I am going to then glue these on, and then in a second I'll be back to show you my completed collage, and then we'll start to mix colors. Okay, so I went ahead and finished my little collage here, and as I was doing it, I realized I had asked you to not have any white in the background, which is kind of hard to do with the small swatches that we have. So I'm going to suggest that you maybe well, hopefully you can find some nice big swatches, or just, put a couple of really big swatches down first. That way you're going to get rid of the white. As I said, we don't need white because we already know how to mix white. I mean, white is white. So the challenge here is to mix our other colors. But anyway, I have a little set of, construction paper that I used for the background here. Just a little, explanation of how I got that big shape there. And something else to think of as you're making your compositions, if you are, someone who feels a little bit unsure about all that, think about your edges. Think about how these shapes relate to the edges. People often forget about the edges, and I think it makes a more interesting design rather than having everything sort of stuck in the middle with a lot of background color, to think about how the shapes relate or go right off the edges. So that's just a little tidbit. So now we're ready to try to replicate our collage using paint. And for this, you're just going to go ahead and it looks like I'm casual in terms of making this. Yeah, you're right. I am kind of casual about it. I am not that concerned, with your getting everything perfect at all. What I'm really, it's all about, color mixing. So don't worry so much about it. But what you can do is just, use your eye, you sort of draw, eyeball it if you want to, or, this another thing you could do is to take a picture of this. I mean, it's sort of a pain, but take a photograph of it, then print it out on the computer, put it on your printer rather, in shades of gray. But that's going to also be, I mean, there are a couple of different ways you could, replicate it, trace it. Tracing it is the easiest thing if you can, or just eyeball it. Again, it's not for my purposes, for you to get the best out of this exercise, it's not important for you to, replicate this perfectly. So we just don't want to get, and we don't want to get stuck in sort of the technical difficulties. That's, we just want to keep going here. So I'm doing the best I can to try to replicate these shapes, as you can see. All right, so there we go. That's my little replication, the best I could do. As I said, keep it to no more than 5 shapes, no more than 5 colors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I got 5 colors here. So I'm going to just start, in this exercise, to show you here how I might do the green. And a lot of times when I'm mixing colors that are, I don't need a ton of it. I mean, I need, I need enough to, certainly for the background, that's the biggest amount of color. I like to use these little, plastic tops from our yogurt container or whatever. I'm sure you have some of these lying around. It's a great way to recycle some of this stuff, but they really do make a nice reusable smallish palette. And so what colors do you think, are in this green? Going to give you a second to guess. If you were to pick a blue, would it be the blue going toward the red or the blue going toward the green? In other words, would it be ultramarine blue or would it be phthalo blue? Well, if you said phthalo blue, you were right, because this is, it's definitely let's put it this way. It is not a color that goes toward red. No, it's not an olive green. This is a grassy green. Another subjective word. It's really hard to get away from those, but that would be your clue to perhaps start with phthalo blue. Okay, so I'm going to open my phthalo blue here. And by the way, I am using, these are fluid paints. Some of you may have fluid, some of you may have open, some of you may have regular heavy body. It doesn't really matter. Those are all good choices. Now I am going to guess that there is some white, but I don't know for sure. So I'm just going to have to, sort of look and see what happens when I add my yellow. I put some blue out here. I'm just thinking that maybe I should have started with my yellow. It's often a better idea to start with your lighter color. That way, the color doesn't get subsumed by the other colors you're adding to it. Just like, you think there's white in your color, a lot of white, you definitely want to start with white and gradually add your darker color to it. Let me see, here's Hansa yellow. Again, I chose the Hansa yellow. I chose that lemony yellow because I don't think that there's any red in this color. And if I use the diarylide yellow, which is that egg yolky color, it is more toward orange. So I want to avoid that because if I add something more toward orange, I'm going to get a sort of a warm, a brown. I won't get my greenish color. I will get a more olivey color. So that's why I picked this lemony yellow. Actually, what I'm going to do is get another little palette here because I do think that I probably want to start with yellow and not blue. So I'm going to go ahead and start like that. Okay, so there we have a Hansa yellow. And now I'm going to do what I should have done, which is to then take drops of the phthalo blue and mix it. And you see, I didn't need much. Remember, we talked about how staining, how intense that phthalo blue is. It's just one of these, it's just the pigment, the nature of the pigment itself is just that it is very, very intense. You don't need much of it to make a big impact. Some of the other colors you'll find you really need much more than you thought you did, but not phthalo. Okay, so that is way too light, way too light. And it's also not greeny enough. So it says to me, we need a whole lot more phthalo blue. So I'm going to be a little bit more generous this time and mix it in here. So we're talking about the value, it's darker. So obviously the darker means you need more of that darker color, then you need more of the blue in here. And let's see how we're doing now. Okay, so that's definitely better, but it's not blue enough. So I need a little bit more. Yeah, I think we're getting closer to this. And also, guys, you really don't need to spend hours doing this. If it's close enough, that's fine. The idea here is to see how good you are at guessing what the components of the colors are, especially at this early stage in the class. All right, so I'm thinking that that's pretty good. It's funny, it still seems, what you can do is just do a little drop of it near that color or even on that color. It's very close. I think the value is very good. In other words, the darkness of the screen is very, very good. I do think the color of it seems to need maybe a little bit more blue, but it's good enough. So I'm going to use it. So now I'm going to go ahead and paint that in. And let's see what we've got. So not only is the color important, it's also the value. So we'll just use this because this is my biggest color, my biggest amount of color. I'm gonna go all the way around the edges here and get that going. you know, use the right size brush. You know, this is not great for little tiny spaces, but you know, covers really pretty quickly, which is kind of nice. So you could always go back in there and with a smaller brush and clean that up if I want to. Clean up the edges if I want to. Okay, so there is our background color. Right, we did that now. Yeah, so so now we would be going to the, you know, the next colors, and I'm not going to take the time in this particular video to do all that, but I, you know, just wanted to get you started to show you, you know, the kind of the things that you want to be thinking about as you're doing these little paintings from your collages. And I hope you find it fun and engaging. You know, and don't forget to post these things on the Padlet once you are complete, and let me know if you have any questions, you know, during the week that you're really stuck on. Okay,